Good morning, and thank you for joining us for SBB Live. I am your host and the publisher of Seniors Blue Book, Amanda Barton. I'm really excited today to be joined with Lance McKinney with Osterhout McKinney. How are you doing today, Lance?
I'm doing well, Amanda. And you?
Very good. Thank you, sir. Tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been with the practice, and what you guys do.
Well, Amanda, this year is our 30th year in practice in the Southwest Florida area. There's 3 lawyers, and we concentrate in what we call elder law. And so elder law is just, it's a variety of items, but it's client focused on planning, people trying to do their wills or trusts. Also, if they get medically compromised and we need to deal with care, helping them know how to pay for it and just address those concerns. We also deal with public benefits like Medicaid, Medicare, veterans, special needs plannings. So it's a whole mix of things, and it's the best part is the clients that we get to serve in our Southwest Florida area.
Fantastic. And I know we're going through something right now. Tell me a little bit about how COVID-19 has changed like a traditional estate planning circumstance and how you guys are working with your clients.
Sure. Obviously it's affected all of us, just from we're not eating out and we're just having to limit our social contact. Our clients, we see the risk and the concerns of people who are, they're getting sick, they're hospitalized. And so that can't help but prompt any of us to want to get our affairs in order and make sure we have a plan. So we've got clients who maybe wouldn't have been interested or motivated to deal with some of that. They're now more motivated. And so those are good things. One of the things that clients ask is, first, are you open? And we are. Second is, do they have to come out of their house? In other words, how do we get these things signed and created? And there have been some strides in the law to allow some remote signings, but for wills and trusts, some of the what happens when we die, that still is not quite at the robust remote signing. So we're still having to actually see people, which, I like to see my clients. In between our client appointments, we're obviously trying to just wipe down everything. I wear a mask, and so just like everybody else, our glasses get fogged and it gets hotter in there when you're talking with the masks. But we're still open and doing it. And one of the things, as I like to tell clients, when they can do things on their own without necessarily having a lawyer, and for medical decision making, and obviously that's a big topic right now, is if I can't make my own decisions, then have I named somebody to act for me? And in Florida, we call that the healthcare surrogate. That is a well-established form that can be obtained on the internet. And so my caution to the audience here is if you can't get to see a lawyer, but you still want to put that in place, no problem. You can print that off. The caution is that there's limits on who can be the witnesses. It does take 2 witnesses. And so envision being at home and they want their family members to sign. But if you're naming your family members to be the ones who would be your decision makers, they can't be your witnesses. So you're going to have to be creative and probably either get a neighbor or someone else to be the witness if you're doing it at home in your own household. So it's doable, but just be aware of some of those little traps.
Yeah, have to get creative.
Yep.
I know this situation has really taken a toll on senior living communities. Talk to us about how it's impacted some of the facilities in our area and how people are advocating for those in need.
Sure. It's what stresses and pandemics or emergencies, boy, they can bring out the worst or the best in people. And it's really nice in our community. We spend a great deal of our professional focus on helping people advocate, look out for their loved ones, making sure that they understand how it all works together, because it's a pretty complex system. And in our community, even though our seniors and our loved ones have been kind of wrapped up in that blanket, and you can't get in to see them at the assisted living or the skilled nursing, I've had resounding positive comments of how well our community and our professionals out there are providing good care, paying attention, being creative. You know, they're bringing the FaceTimes and the just plain old phone contact and stuff. So it's a good thing. Probably the message I want everybody to know is that it's really easy for us as advocates, even if they're in our thoughts, but they're not in front of our faces. We're not maybe as active in our advocacy, getting on the phones, talking to staff. I know the assisted livings and the group homes and stuff, they're busy, they're grappling with their own just personnel, but they will take the time. It's important for our families to still be that advocate and don't just slack off. So a couple of things that I would, in my interactions, you know, it's a big balancing act, and we all recognize the need to shelter and protect, but all of these people typically have medical needs, and they're not always able to be their own best advocate. So one of the areas is that even though the law says that to shelter and lock down, there's some obvious exceptions, and one of those is for necessary medical care. And we kind of say, of course, but that also comes into play with like therapies. Now, assisted livings, a lot of times they'll bring in therapists from outside the facility to provide that. And if Medicare is going to pay for it, then by definition, that's medically necessary. And that's what's still allowed to come in from the outside. And so facilities are right now grappling with that. They're erring on the side of they're trying to keep outsiders out. But sometimes we still need to push a little bit so that they do bring in that necessary help. One of the things that can be done, the Ombudsman, it's a state or federal program, and they're volunteers. There's a 1-800 number. I'm sorry, I didn't think to look it up. But they are still permitted to go into, they're one of the exceptions that can get into the facility if you're not able to work this out. Now, I'm not suggesting that we just go call people and complain. We should always start with the assisted living facility, the staff, try to work through it. But there are ways to still advocate when you're not thinking you're being effective and getting the people's attention. So, sorry, that was a bit of a long answer, but
that's it. I mean, it's great. This is the information that we need to get out to our audience. So thank you for that. Now, some interesting things are happening with stimulus checks. Everybody's getting stimulus checks. If somebody's passed away and a stimulus check comes in the mail to them, what is the procedures for that at this time?
Yeah, so thank goodness that we actually have some of these helps that are being provided to us. It's getting implemented so quickly. There's not total clarity, but here's they looked at trying to find people, and so they looked at 2018 tax rolls, or if you filed your 2019 tax roll. So that's how they'll send a check, and they could be sending it to a person who has already passed, maybe 2 years ago. So if the person who receives the check died prior to 2020, well, no, they're not really entitled to keep that money, and you would have to expect to return it. That's easy to say, but it's hard to just send a check back to IRS. They're working on that, and they're actually now coming up with some guidance. But Those people who passed 2 years ago, 2018, 2019, definitely will have to return it. People who died this year, it's changing a little bit. The quick answer is that I would hold on to the money. This is what they call a non-refundable tax credit. So if you were alive one day in 2020, you can file a tax return and you could get that, I mean, your loved ones, because you're gone, but could get that $1,200 stimulus check. IRS just yesterday, and today's May 7th, and so May 6th, they just came out with some new guidance, and I don't think it's the end of it. They're now saying that if you died before, you have to return it. But I think that there's going to be some more guidance on that. So if someone passed away in 2020, don't be so quick to send the money back. Let's see how it plays out, because I believe you'd be able to keep it under those circumstances.
Interesting. So talk to us about those folks that are on Social Security income or Medicaid.
Yeah, so a lot of our practice, Amanda, is dealing with people who are on what we call means-tested public benefits, Medicaid, SSI. And so there's lots of tests on the money that comes in, wherever it comes from. Do we call it an asset? Is it counted? Is it income? So the good news is that people who are on SSI or Medicaid, this stimulus check, the $1,200, or the additional $500 add-ons, but the $1,200 is not counted as income, meaning it does not affect their benefits. And you don't have to spend it immediately, because in these programs, if you don't spend it, then what wasn't counted as income can later become assets that could bump you off. The good news is that they have up to a year, 12 months, to spend that money and not have it jeopardize their public benefits, SSI or Medicaid. So they're trying to coordinate it all together. There's been a lot of advocacy nationwide, because this would have been easy stuff to miss, but there are people out there trying to make sure that the people who need it the most are not going to get disadvantaged by the very help that the government is sending out. So the good news is it's safe, collect it, enjoy it, use it for your benefit.
Absolutely. Definitely use it or lose it, right?
Yep.
Well, give me any final thoughts that you have on just general estate planning and elder law during COVID-19.
Yeah, so I mean, boy, what an impact certainly the pandemic has had on all of us. But we all realize that this is not going away, and it's going to be another year or two probably that it's still going to have some profound effects. We have to keep living. We have to keep taking care of important things in life, and so it's probably not emergency that people have to run right out and see their lawyer, but it certainly highlights the need for good planning. So we just like we still pay attention to our budgets, still go shopping, we still take care of ourselves. They're telling us get out and have some fresh air, so you're not just being inside all the time. We same way in legal affairs, we need to just put it as a priority and make sure that we get it done in an orderly way. This is a time when passionate advocacy is just really important, both for our loved ones and for ourselves. So we just got to keep taking care of those important things.
Yeah, you can't put this off. This is something that's so important. And if you have been putting it off, now is the time to make sure that you get it done, because you really don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
That's so true.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you coming on the show, Lance. If you have any final words, I'd love to hear it. But otherwise, I just really appreciate your time. I know you're a busy man.
Thanks for the opportunity. These are things that just people need resources and information, and we'll all continue to adapt and do the best we can each day.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Until we can have you in person in front of a group of our beloved seniors again, I appreciate you joining us on the show, and